Hi guys, welcome to Grammar and Writing Lesson 41. Let's start off with our vocabulary. Our prefix focus is chrono. Chrono. This is again a Greek prefix. And can you guess what it means? Some of you might be familiar with it. Chrono. This word is referring to time, things that have to do with time. So anything that has that prefix chrono is time. Some of you are probably automatically thinking of chronos, but this is not quite the same thing. So chrono, that is the Greek prefix meaning time. Chronology, chronology. Okay, what do you think this one is? Chronology. We've looked at that ology suffix before, so put it together. What does it mean? This is arrangement according to the order of time or occurrence. So something's chronology is its arrangement according to time or when it occurs. For example, do you know the chronology of events that led to the American Revolution? So studying something according to its time. Do you know the chronology of events? Do you know what order things happened? Chronobiology. Chronobiology. Okay, we've looked at that word biology. What is biology? The study of life, right? So what would chronobiology be? This is the study of the effect of time on living organisms. So we're still studying, we're studying time and its effect on life, on living organisms. That kind of combines all of the parts of the word that we know. For example, the chronobiology students observed the effects of aging. So seeing what happens to your body as you get older, as the years go by. Chronometer. Chronometer. What do you think that is? Let's see if you're right. The definition is a sophisticated timepiece for accurately telling time. So a chronometer is basically a fancy type of watch. So it's a timepiece. Your watch is not the same as a chronometer, but a chronometer tells time. It keeps time. It's very intricate. The chronometer indicated the exact moment the new century began. So this timepiece, like sometimes your watch might be off a little bit, it slows down or speeds up. A chronometer does not. So it is always accurate, telling the exact moment of time. Okay, let's practice. Fill in the blank with the correct vocabulary word. Number 1, the two ships used a blank to meet at a specified time and place. So which word, chronology, chronometer, chronobiology, which one would be an instrument that could be used to determine time? Number 2, I'd like to hear the blank of events that led to the invention of the wheel. So what word talks about the order of events? Number 3, the blank project showed the growth of infants from crawling to walking. The blank project showed the growth of infants from crawling to walking. That be chronology, chronobiology, or chronometer. So which project shows aging? All right, let's look at our answers. Number 1, the two ships used a chronometer to meet at a specified time and place. Number 2, I'd like to hear the chronology of events that led to the invention of the wheel. And number 3, the chronobiology project showed the growth of infants from crawling to walking. How'd you do? Did you get them all? Hope so. Okay, let's talk about commas. We're on Rule 4 from your book. Use commas to separate the parts of dates and addresses within sentences. Okay, there are some little specifics to this rule. We use a comma after the last part of a date or address if it does not end the sentence. So if you have a date or an address within your sentence, and it comes in the middle of your sentence, in the beginning, there's more to your sentence after your date or address. You have to use a comma after the ending of your date or after the ending of your address to separate it from the rest of your sentence. But if it comes at the end, you don't need that comma because you never put a comma with your ending mark and you never use a comma as your ending mark. If your date or address is at the end of your sentence, you just have your ending mark, your period, your question mark, or your exclamation point. But you don't need a comma because you never put a comma as your ending mark. It's not strong enough. It does not end your sentence. And you don't put a comma right next to your ending mark. So never, never, never. So it cannot end your sentence. It can't go next to the ending punctuation. So if a date or address ends your sentence, you don't put a comma after it. Okay, next, we do not use a comma between the month and the day or between the state and a zip code. And I'll show you an example in just a minute. But when you're writing in the sentence and you have the month and the day, for example, January 15th, you're not going to put a comma in between January and 15. January, comma, 15. No, you've never seen that, never happens. You don't put a comma between your month and your day. You also don't put a comma between the state and the zip code. Now this is in, again, American addresses. So in an American address, you end by usually saying your city, comma, your state, and then the zip code. That tells you exactly where in your state the mail needs to go, the package, whatever it is. But you don't put a comma in between the state and that number, which is the zip code. So let's look at some examples. First example, Winston Churchill died on January 24, 1965 at the age of 90. All right, where do our commas need to go? Well, we need to put a comma in between our day and our year. So January 24, comma, 1965. Now the end of our date is right here, 1965. There's more to the sentence, so I still need a comma at the end. So Winston Churchill died on January 24, comma, 1965 at the age of 90. Here's our second example. Please forward our mail to 431 East Olive Street, Orlando, Oregon, 71240. Okay, that's 71240, that's your zip code. The 431, that's your house number. It's part of your street address. So the first part of your address is your street address, 431 East Olive Street. Then comes your comma, because now we go on to our next part, which is the city. The city is Orlando, and after that you need a comma. But that's it, because we don't put a comma. According to our rule, we don't put a comma between our state, which is Oregon, and our zip code, 71240. Think of it as one part. And we also don't put a comma after the zip code here because it ends our sentence. We already have a period. We don't need anything else. Okay, let's keep going, this time with Rule 5 from your book. Use a comma after the salutation of a friendly letter. Salutation means the greeting, the opening. So use a comma after the salutation of a friendly letter, a letter that you would write to someone you know. This is not a business letter written to a business or someone important. So you use it after the salutation of a friendly letter and after the closing of all letters. So it doesn't matter what type of letter, when you are closing it out, you need to close it with something like sincerely, truly yours, love even. In Christ is a common one with familiar letters, not business letters. Anything like that, you have to put a comma after the closing. Let's look at some examples. Dear Nathan, this is a salutation. It's a friendly letter. You're writing it to a person you know. It's not to a business or anything like that. So we need a comma after Dear Nathan, and then you'll start your letter. Dear Aunt Gertrude. Again, it's familiar. You're not writing it for any business reasons. So we need a comma. Dear Aunt Gertrude, comma, start your letter. Okay, let's look at some closings. With love. That's how you would close it. You say with love, and then you sign your name. But you need a comma before you sign your name. With love, comma, whoever you are. Yours truly. The closing, so you need a comma, and then again, sign your name. Remember, the closing is with all letters. The salutation or the greeting is just with friendly letters. Okay, let's get some practice. You're going to be doing think A, think B, and then go back on pages 46 and 47. So I'm going to do the first one of think A, the first one of think B, and then the rest you need to go ahead and do on your own. So think A, the instructions say to add commas where needed in the following sentences. This is from Rule 4 that we just looked at, which is on page 46 of your book. Lord Tennyson was born on August 6, 1809 in Somersby, Lincolnshire, and died on October 6, 1892. Okay, so we see we have two dates, August 6, 1809 and October 6, 1892. Then we have an address. It's not an address with like a street number and a house number, but we have a city and we have a region. So where do our commas go? Give you a hint, you have 5. Go ahead and fill this out on your paper, and we will check it. Okay, ready? August 6th, comma. We separate the day from the year. Otherwise, it could get confusing, and you might think you're in year 61,809. So separate our day from our year. And then we have a comma at the end, separating the date from the rest of the sentence. So August 6, comma, 1809, comma, in Somersby, comma, because this is a city and we need to separate it from the region, Lincolnshire. Now again, this is in the middle of our sentence, so we need another comma separating this region from the rest of the sentence. So he was born on August 6, 1809 in Somersby, Lincolnshire, and died on October 6, comma, 1892. How did you do? Did you get those right? I hope so. Let's go on to think B. Add commas and end marks where needed in the following sentences. So not just commas are needed, but also end marks, the ending punctuation, whether that needs to be a period, an exclamation point, or a question mark. Number 1. By the way, Lily, did you see the lunar eclipse last night? Okay, here you are talking to Lily. Where do you need to put your commas? And what ending punctuation do you need to use? Go ahead and fill this out in your book. I believe this is page 47. Okay, you need commas surrounding Lily because this is a direct address. You're talking to Lily. Also, by the way, that's, remember, an unnecessary thing. So you also are separating by the way from your sentence. So that comma there after way serves a double purpose. You are separating Lily and you're also separating by the way, because you could take out by the way and your sentence would still be the same. So we have Lily, comma, did you see the lunar eclipse last night? By the way, I saw that this caused a little bit of confusion on your exercise. When you say you, that even though you're talking to someone, it's not their name. The word you, the pronoun you, is never considered a direct address. You don't surround it by commas. Because if you took out the you, your sentence wouldn't make sense. By the way, Lily, did you see the lunar eclipse last night? No, because your direct address, just like the unnecessary, the non-essential elements, your direct address can be taken out and your sentence still makes sense. If I just say, did you see the lunar eclipse last night? That makes sense, right? Yes, it does. You can say that sentence. It's not a fragment. It still has sentido. So, by the way, and Lily are non-essential elements, so you can take them out. That's why you need to surround them by commas. You can't take out you, so you can't surround it by a comma. All right, so hopefully that helps with some of that confusion. So by the way, Lily, did you see the lunar eclipse last night? Is this a declarative sentence or imperative sentence that needs a period? Is it an exclamatory sentence or is it interrogative? It's interrogative. It's asking a question. So we need a question mark at the end. How'd you do? Did you do well? Hope so. All right. The directions for go back are to answer the following questions about Think B. It says specifically you need to be ready to answer the questions. So that's something that we would kind of do together. I would ask you, you would answer. But because we're not in class, you need to actually answer it on your paper. For number 1, where it says what are the subjects and the predicates, you need to go through and underline the subjects and verbs in sentences 1 through 8 of Think B. You need to underline the subject once, the verbs twice. Make sure you find the complete verb. Complete subject, complete, or not complete, simple subject, but both parts of the verb, if there's more than one word, if there's just one word in your verb, just that word, but if there's more than one, if your verb has a helping verb or if it's compound, make sure that you find all of them. Okay, so that means your homework is to complete Language C, page 46, Think A, and page 47, the Think B, and go back. Let me know if you have any questions, guys. Have a great day.